Welcome everyone to the Emergent Essence Dynamics webinar on March 20th, and this is webinar number 6, The Art of Provocation. We have a few people joining us, Kirsten, Christina, Cyril, Paul, and a couple more may join. Welcome everyone, glad to see you here. For the webinar, if you have background noise, just mute yourself. I see most of you are muted. Feel free to unmute at any time so that you can pop in with a question or a comment. I encourage lots of participation from you guys. The webinars are going to be an hour. They used to be 90 minutes. Now I'm cutting them shorter to an hour because the topics are becoming more specific, so we don't really need the 90 minutes, and that makes it even better for playback, so you don't have to sit around for so long and absorb too much information. I still am going to, as usual, cram as much information as I can into 60 minutes for you, so you'll walk away with lots of stuff. I'm interested to know from you all what intrigued you or attracted you to come here today regarding the art of provocation. And this is applicable for leadership and coaching, mediation, and your own personal life skills. So love to hear some of your thoughts and what brought you for today.
I just like your style and the information you bring in. And of course, the art of provocation, it's nice to provoke knowing what you are obtaining.
Yeah.
And this could be intriguing because when you are in control of the results, it's more efficient.
Okay. Yes, awesome, great. What else would you like to add?
For me, it was that a lot of people don't use provocation at all, but the opposite. They're avoiding it wherever they can. Mm-hmm. And when I learned Emergent Essence Dynamics Module 1 and found out what provocation actually means, that it is not a bad thing, but just something to provoke some reaction. Yeah, I found provocation to be very cool, and I want to find out how I can safely use it, but more like what are some good arguments to help people allow themselves to be provocative.
Okay. Yeah, so permission to be provocative. Why are people avoiding it? Why is it beneficial? Okay, we'll answer all of that. Great. Anyway, yeah.
On my side, I remember when we did the process course of CTI Troy. You provoked me when we were dealing with the key question, what we cannot stand with in our life. And I loved the fact that there was a big gap between the initial answer, each of the 25 attendees we gave to you, and the provocation and the word that at the end finally went out. And there was that I'm interested to understand the power of intuition related with the art of provocation.
Yeah.
And also, I really love what Christina, you just mentioned, that it's good to provoke, but what is the objective? What is the intention? And I think in leadership, in coaching, it's good to provoke, but there can be a big risk depending on whether we are clear or not with the intention.
Excellent. That's very, very, very important. I'm really going to highlight why. Why are we provoking and where are you coming from? And I'm coming from also a place of being aware, mindful, and responsive to what's going on in the present moment. And also because EED does not focus on creating transformation, it changes where we're coming from when we are provoking and why we're doing it, as opposed to forcing a transformation, right? So we don't force a transformation. We want to provoke things so that things will emerge. So we'll get into that in a lot of detail. Also, regarding intuition, well, sometimes I don't even know if it is intuition, because a lot of where I'm coming from and where we're coming from with EED, it's a lot about observation, and we're observing things on various levels. I can talk about some of those levels. And then, yes, sometimes there might be some intuition involved. So I'll make some distinctions there. Kirsten, would you like to add anything?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I have very present the provocation I was confronted with in the hero's journey. So I was ready to kill, but it brought me really in my truth. So the relationship in the facilitation is important for me. What do I have to care about? And yeah, really speaking from art, like not provoke for provocation. So la pour la. What is my intention behind, and when to use it?
Okay. Intention and when. Yeah, Kirsten was mentioning the hero's journey, which is that was a section in module 3. We work with, how can you map out the whole client's whole transformation process with Joseph Campbell's The Hero's Journey, and use that. And that can be quite provocative because it has the client face like what we call a crux moment. This is where they're under the most test or challenge for themselves, which then gives them a breakthrough. And it's not always comfortable to have the client look at it or face it, because normally we want to avoid some of our own transformational elements. Not all of them, but some. Particularly the ones where we feel we're losing. We don't want those. But in the crumbling comes a rising, right? And it's that initial crumbling process where we get the most resistance. So yeah, when do we provoke? That's very important as well. And where we can use provocation the strongest is when the client is running in circles, or the session is running in circles, or we're being faced with a lot of resistance. And resistance is natural, okay? But to counteract the resistance, we need something stronger sometimes than holding space and asking powerful questions, etc. Sort of the usual stuff that can happen in a coaching, or even sometimes with leadership. So sometimes you have to come at the client strong so they can come back at you strong, meaning they're hitting a stronger level of truth. But before I get ahead of myself, so I've noted what you guys have put on the table here. Let's look at what we're covering today. We're discovering. So we're going to bust some myths around provocation in both leadership and coaching. And it partly has to do with why are some people not using it or avoiding it, and why would other people be overusing it or using it poorly or misusing it. So we want to clean up some things around that. We're also going to look for, how can provocation actually create a healthier flow of truth and transparency in relationship, whether that's truth and transparency in the leadership or coaching process, or even just in personal relationships. How can we apply this into our own experiences with other people so that we're allowing more transparency to emerge, rather than getting stuck in some kind of a game or drama that may or may not be true. So provocation is used to help clarify. And I'm hoping we have time for a short demo so I can show some of these provocation techniques in action, okay? Don't need a long one for that one, okay? So I'm gonna watch time, and I'm thinking, let's hopefully get through this stuff within half an hour so that I get maybe a 10-minute demo. Okay, so briefly, what is EED? Some of you, well, Kirsten, Paul, you've already taken the courses, and Christina, you've been on other webinars. Cyril, it's your first time here, and plus there will be others who listen to this recording, so I'll go through this quickly. EED is a holistic approach that's based very much on how we are in relationship, and it works with our relationship patterns. So this is why it's a fractal-based model, meaning we have repeating patterns on both the small and large scale that occur everywhere, and they'll affect all areas of our lives. If we can shift one of those patterns, we actually shift multiple areas and multiple relationships at once. So EED digs down to find what are some of those core patterns at work that are determining our behaviors and actions. So it pinpoints the most fundamental level driving our human dynamics. So we're going beyond story, beyond the narrative, and down into what's really driving the behaviors and energies that we're experiencing. The main purpose is not for transformation, but rather to restore resilience and well-being and autonomy in a person. This opens them to an expanded consciousness. We'll call it, it could be a creator consciousness, or they can tap into a unity consciousness. And with that resilience, well-being, and autonomy, it has them re-examine what they thought they needed to transform. And it really aligns them with first an acceptance of the reality, and then they're in a position to create from it, as opposed to react against their reality or circumstances. A lot of transformation is driven from fear and reactivity. So the first thing we're doing is neutralizing fear and reactivity before we examine what the client really wants to create. All right? So in essence, when we're coming from resilience and creator consciousness, we're able to reconcile our ego personality, meaning our daily drives, our our need for survival, and our essence, which feels more permanent and timeless. When we can reconcile those two together, we experience a sense of liberation, where nothing is taboo. It looks like then we have more courage and creativity to tackle anything that we want to tackle in life. What it really means is we just have more sovereignty over our own existence, and we're not running in circles with our tail between our legs or gnashing our teeth in an attack mode. Okay. So we're really working with transmutation, not transformation. What that means is we're taking what's already there in the circumstances and what's already there in the person, and more or less refining it, purifying it, where it transmutes into the best possible version of what can be and who they can be. And this is coming from creative choice. So we're not adding or taking away. It's not even really a rearrangement, but it's a whole shift in how we're interacting with everything. And that's what creates the transmutation. So if we think we've got a hunk of lead in our hands, through the transmutation, it then becomes gold. It's just a more refined way of interacting with ourselves and our reality. How you guys doing with that? Okay, any questions?
That's pretty good. You just said transmutation. What comes out of it is depends on the creator's choice. Did I get it correctly?
Yeah, and that they're in a position to make a creative choice rather than make a reactive choice. That's the main thing, okay? The applications for this, because it's universal and because we're working with the fundamentals of human dynamics, the fundamental level there, it's applicable to coaching, leadership, mediation, facilitation, healing, and much more, even like marketing, branding, sales, anything to do with relationship and interactions. Welcome, Cesar, good to see you. Okay, so let's look at what is provocation. What are your ideas? How would you define provocation? And then I've got points, but I want to hear what you got, how you guys are interpreting provocation. What it is not.
Well, for me, provocation would be push away from the initial boundaries, like out of the box, but in order to achieve a clear intention aimed at transmutating the client.
Okay. So how would you sum that up differently or simply? I was understanding it and then I kind of lost it. Just wanted to hear you again.
Push the client out of the box with a positive, powerful intention.
Okay. So this is a very interesting statement, Cyril, because it's not about pushing or pulling or trying to move or manipulate. This is the one main understanding about provocation, okay? Yes, it's done with intention. And then we have to think, well, what is my intention? Is it to make the person better or worse? I mean, am I coming from a judgment on who they are? So I want to strip this down, that we're not provoking from preference, prejudice, judgment, or anything like that. I've seen many times people will provoke, whether they're leading or coaching or mediating, and they're favoring some kind of a result that they want to get. Meaning, like, for example, hey, client, you're playing small. Come on, boom, boom, you have to step up. Well, who am I to decide that? What is big or small, okay? They may be resisting something, but it does not mean that that's good or bad, right or wrong. So I want to be really, really, really clean and clear on this. I mean, what are your responses to that right there, what I've said? It might confuse you or it might clarify something for you.
It's clarifying because we are not judging, but we are looking to the what's behind this. And we are just looking at his point of view, asking what's behind this? What are you defending?
Okay.
What's behind? That's what I was thinking.
Okay, right. So we're calling something what it is, and then we're looking for the client to go investigate. Basically what we're doing, okay? So to put it very, very, very simply, provocation is a catalyst. It's a spark that sets something in motion. That's all it is. It's to promote action, reaction. If we want to play with dynamics, we want to see how people act and react. If I don't throw a stone in the water, I will not see ripples. Do you understand? That's why I chose the image of ripples for the webinar poster. What we're doing with provocation is we are creating ripples, a ripple effect. And then we want to really see what are those ripples? What effect do they have? That's a very simple way to describe very cleanly what we mean by provocation coming from EED, okay? Does that shift or change anything for you guys? The way to think about provocation.
I think based on your explanation, Troy, for me it's more when I was saying pushing, maybe I was wrong with the word, but I was putting on the table something really powerful that would have the effect to generate reaction, but out of the box, meaning really powerful, but not the intention to make any judgment.
Right. Okay. Excellent. Excellent. And we will talk about what's your range of provocation, because it can be very gentle. It can also be very strong. And, you know, that is determined by your intention and what you are looking for in the response, in the reaction. Okay. So, we're focusing on the response, not the provocation. This is very important. What I've seen over and over again in some leadership practices, coaching practices, I've seen the coach or leader provoke, but then they've stopped listening and they're really trying to nail the client down, and they're missing all the responses that are coming from the client because maybe they don't notice them, or maybe they're not the responses they expected. All right. And so they start pushing, and that can start crossing a line with the client where it may create more resistance. It might break the safety of the space. It also might start influencing the client according to the leader or coach's own agenda, where they're now projecting onto the client. Okay, so if you have the self-discipline to focus on the response, then you keep your listening and connection alive, and then you are very aware and mindful of every little reaction you get. As soon as you provoke, forget it. Look for the response. This is extremely important. Whatever you just did or said, leave it and focus totally on what comes back at you from the client. And accept it, okay? So, if we're focused on the response, this will not be aggression, bullying, or confrontation, all right? It won't be selfish or narcissistic aggression, bullying, or confrontation. Now, we can give a strong provocation, and the client might have a defensive response, okay? But if you catch that response, that immediately neutralizes the feeling of aggression, bullying, or confrontation, especially when you immediately accept whatever just came at you. It might be surprising, it might be unexpected, but if you have the discipline to go into immediate acceptance of the response, you're neutralizing any danger in the space, okay? That is how you safely provoke. It's through immediate acceptance, and you are immediately responsive from acceptance, catching what just came back at you. Is that making sense to you guys? How are you guys doing with that?
Yeah, it makes total sense.
Okay. Now, as far as range goes, it's not just about what you do or say. Every question you ask is a provocation. So for coaches that, ask powerful questions, well, you are provoking, okay? For you to remain in silence is also a provocation. The silence itself will provoke the other person. And how you are being, either energetically or whatever you are embodying, whatever energy you are embodying, that is also provocative. So the way you ask your questions, the way you articulate something, or the way you are in silence also contributes to the provocation. You can ask a question from love. You can ask a question from urgency. You can ask a question from passion or anger, or ask a question very gently. All of those energies contribute to the provocation. That's how it becomes more an art form, when you're very aware of how you're being and where you're, not just where you're coming from, but how you're being. How are you guys doing with that? Okay.
Troy, I imagine that this being that you mentioned in the last bullet is related with the self-discipline that you mentioned on the third bullet, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So when you are in a very aware and mindful relationship, you are maintaining connection, you are disciplined, where you're not trying to manipulate, but you're simply trying to get action and reaction. It's going to shift how you're being, okay? And you can be very intentional with the way you're being, because you may know where you want to direct the client, and so you'll shift the way you're being as a way to be more of an effective catalyst, okay? We could maybe, if we have time, talk later about where are the places you might want to direct a client. So let's look at the different ways you can provoke. Okay, we mentioned questions and silence and being. One of the obvious ways we can provoke is through making statements. There's articulations and bold statements. I'm going to differentiate between these two. Okay, and we learn both in the EED program very early on. Okay, you learn that on the first day of Module 1. An articulation is simply naming what you see, okay, from what you can physically observe. Okay, so Paul, you're holding your hand to your cheek. That's an articulation, okay? Cyril, you're nodding your head. That's a clean articulation, all right? Now, I can make a bold statement, okay? So Paul, you've got your fist on your, well, you got your fist under your chin on your face. You keep switching it, okay? That's a physical observation. So bold statement would be, you're bored, you know this, and you're trying to provoke me back. Look, he smiles, he laughs. Okay? The point is, I don't know if it's true. That's why I have to catch the response. I have to ask, I have to follow it with, okay, Paul, what did that just do to you? Where did it take you? Or what did you just feel? Or what just bubbled up in you, for example, okay? Now, clean articulations are quite neutral. It's just a plain, clean observation. A bold statement is based upon those clean observations, but I'm coloring it with, let's say, my interpretation, my intuition, what I sense, or what I judge, okay? And this, some coaches might say, oh no, you can't judge your client. I'm saying, yes, you can, as long as you get their immediate response and you've let your judgment go, okay? Any interpretation will sound judgmental. Why? Because from my truth, this is what I see, and that's what I'm putting forward. Now I need to find out your truth. This is the big, big, big difference, okay? So I can't just impose my truth. If I did not ask for the response, let's say from Paul, and I'd say, oh, Paul's bored, he thinks he's so smart and he wants me to move along, and I leave it at that, now I've projected a truth and I'm imposing. And then he could not feel safe because he feels judged. He's given no opportunity to respond. He can't defend himself, explain himself, or tell his truth. Do you understand? So action and response must go together when provoking. Okay? And by action, I mean the provocation. How you guys with that? Okay. That's a very basic rule that we learn in EED right from the beginning. And it's very effective because when you come from a strong point of view, guess what? They will respond from a strong point of view. So this is very effective for when you have these clients that try to be ambiguous or neutral, or they're not connecting, they're either unwilling or unconsciously not connecting to themselves, or they're trying to wear a nice mask of nothing really affects me. When you make strong provocation from strong, direct point of view, they can't help but give you a strong response, okay? So what makes a strong point of view? Make it very direct, no escape, black and white. It's black or white. It's not, you look kind of angry. No, you are angry. It's just, that's it, right? It's so concrete and solid and direct. They can say, no, I'm not really angry. I'm frustrated and I'm annoyed. Oh, well, they've clarified it in their response. But they wouldn't have gone there if I didn't make that strong, direct statement. Make sense? That is the value of strong point of view. And we learn that. And some people are afraid of that, especially when coaches are taught you have to love your client and you have to be, you have to believe in equanimity and you can't have an opinion. And here we're saying, no. We want you to have non-interference. We want you to be accepting of everything the client is giving you. Yet at the same time, you also need another range of skills where you can come back at them strongly when needed. So you must be able to cultivate a strong point of view and use it from time to time. Okay, you're not using it all the time, but sometimes. Okay. Now, questions are also provocative. Now, there's two types of questions: open questions and closed questions. So open questions are really just going to hand over to the client, like, okay, go explore, discover, without me narrowing what you can explore or discover. Okay, that's what an open question is about. A lot of coaching programs call it powerful questions. It's open. It starts with how or what. Now, in EED, we do also use closed questions, and this is more related to bold statements, okay? So, you know, I could go back to Paul. I'm going to pick on you.
I'm fine.
Right, okay. Oh, what was I going to say? Let's say, I don't know. So Paul, look at you. You're raising your eyebrows. It's like you like to play with me. True, not true?
Well, it's true.
True. Okay. See, that was a closed question. True or not true? Another one could be, all right, so what are you, as I'm interacting with you, Paul, you look embarrassed. How are you feeling? There, what just made you laugh?
Well, yeah, you kind of caught me.
Okay, I caught you. Now, how do you feel about that? Happy, sad, angry?
Kind of a bit like astonished, actually.
Oh, astonished. Okay, great.
Yeah. That you got that. It was like just a brief part of a second. Like I didn't even feel it or notice it myself. Like kind of, and you were like,
great. So, and then okay, and so how is it to interact with me right now? Do you like it or not like it?
It's enjoyable.
Enjoyable. Okay, great, awesome. Now, notice I gave a different kind of line of questioning. These were all closed questions, or it's limited, right? I said true or not true, like it or not like it, happy, sad, angry. I could even add fear. So those are very, very, very closed questions.
Mm-hmm.
Yet, I still was inviting his response. Now, what was the effect of using those closed questions?
I just had a range of answers. Like I couldn't just say something that wouldn't make sense, because I would feel stupid.
Why would you feel stupid?
Wouldn't make sense to mention a car that drives outside, or like something that happens today, or whatever. If the response clearly needs to be some adjective about how I feel right now.
So good. Now, so it really gives you a track to follow, or it really narrows your focus, gives you less escape. Okay. The other thing is, notice I asked him a question. Why is that stupid? Oh, can we do that in coaching and leadership? Ask why? That's also a provocative question. Why? Asking why can be used as a provocative question. If, again, I'm looking at the response, and sometimes like one very effective way to use the word why, a client, let's say in a coaching session, can come and say, well, I want to work on X, Y, and Z. Okay, you know, I want to work on, I don't know, my to-do list, and I want to improve my vision, like for my business. And I go, well, why bother? Why bring that today? And that is meant to provoke a sense of investment and urgency in the client. It's not to attack them and make them feel defensive, okay? Of course, they could react that way, and so then I would just articulate that response. Oh, so your response seemed defensive. What's going on for you? Right? So do you notice that every time I'm making an articulation, I'm following with a question? Okay? This is what neutralizes everything I'm doing, but I'm promoting the client to act and move and flow, okay? So why questions can be provocative, but be intentional with why you're asking the why questions, okay? Silence, again, is gold. Sometimes, so a client can say to me, oh, you know, can't you just tell me what to do? What's making you smile right now, Christina? I left a thing of silence in there. Yeah, what just made you smile, Cyril?
It's happening sometime for people to ask me, okay, tell me what to do. And I'm responding, are you sure you want me to tell you how to arrange your life? And I'm letting this with points, and they are, okay, better not.
So ask me, Christina, what could I do in this situation? I don't know, you could even think of a situation and say, geez, Troy, what should I do? I mean, but ask me the question.
Okay. Please, Troy, tell me what to do next. What should I do?
Okay. What did you just there when you said what just happened?
I was just analyzing the process. I was okay, first I was in the battle with you, and I was okay, I can shut up for a while, but it's losing time. But
Okay.
then I was okay, let your thoughts to go and play the game.
Okay.
And when I started to play the game, I was realizing that I was answering a lot of questions for myself, looking at the different perspective, at the different choices I have.
So how was it like to do all of that within those few seconds? And to know that you're able to do that within those few seconds?
It's my way of living, of thinking. That's a usual habit I have, looking at the process and
okay, so when you, what kind of energy, I'm doing a short demo here, what kind of energy are you using to do all that processing in yourself? What are you connected to in yourself that enables you to question and review and do perspectives, all of that?
Playing.
Okay, so
Yes.
and when you come from that playful energy,
Yeah.
notice what it feels like.
Yeah.
Notice which part of your body is most connected with that playful energy.
The upper part of my body.
So coming from that upper part.
Yes, my chest.
Great. And what's it like to be connected there?
Nice, enjoyable. It's I enjoy being connected like this.
Awesome. And when you're in that enjoyment of that playfulness, how do you feel towards yourself and your own wisdom and well-being?
I'm okay.
Okay.
Yes, I don't know what. I prefer to be like this.
Okay. Awesome.
In the present. In the present. I'm in the present.
Okay, so you're in the present, coming from playful in the upper chest. Now, from that place, why would you want to ask my opinion?
I don't know.
What makes you laugh there? Yeah.
Because I don't need your opinion now, but...
Oh, okay. All right.
I was laughing and I was, okay, where I'm in the game, because I...
Okay, awesome. So now, of course, I still could tell you what to do. I could still, give you lots of advice. Now, from that playful place in your upper chest, how will it be to receive all my advice and my opinions and recommendations?
It would be okay.
Mm-hmm.
It would be okay because I would have food for thoughts, maybe different perspectives, and opening new doors.
Okay.
Maybe because interacting can increase the mind map.
Okay. And then will you use my advice and my...
It depends if your advice would fit my black parts.
Okay. So do you notice how she is coming from a more autonomous energy, meaning she has sovereignty over herself. She's making her choices, her decisions. She's saying, well, I could consider your advice. I'll take this or that, but you're not dependent on what I say. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Now, disconnect from that playful place. Take yourself into a place where you're desperate, you're needy, you're fearful, you don't know what to do, you're overwhelmed. Okay, yeah.
Let me go there. Okay.
Unplug yourself.
Okay.
Ask me again what to do.
What to do, Troy? Tell me what to do.
Okay. There, when you just nodded your head, what happened?
I was increasing my insecurity by, okay, my God, I don't know what to do.
And you're waiting. What's it like to wait for me? Wait for my advice.
I don't like it.
What don't you like about it?
Because I could became dependent on you.
Okay, right. And do you want that?
I don't really want to.
Okay, so this was a demo, and I was using different ways of provoking through questions, silence, articulate, respond, maybe a little bold statements, using both open and closed questions. What was all of that for? What was my intention, let's say, in these last two interactions?
I was busy playing. I wasn't paying attention to your hint.
It's okay. From everyone else observing, what were you seeing?
I might have a guess. You wanted to show her that she's not dependent on the coach, that asking the question, what should I do, is actually never a valid question, because when she comes from a resilient place, she doesn't need to know. And even if she doesn't come from a resilient place, then also it feels uncomfortable if you just stay silent. So, and then she's like, no, I don't want to actually. So in any case, the client would come to the conclusion, okay, why am I asking this person for advice? This is what I got.
Great. Yeah, great. In the first silence, she started processing herself. The second silence, she stayed in her need or fear or desperation. I want to give her a taste of both of those and let her decide how both those experiences are and what to do with them. Right? If my first rule of thumb is to build resilience in the client, well, I want them to experience resilience. And then also, I'll give them a taste of non-resilience.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Sorry?
This is Cesar. Can I say something?
Yes.
I remember you taught us in a webinar some time ago about the spiral of provoking and listening and going deeper and deeper, because in the first place there is a superficial level of the client, I don't know, of the relationship. So you need to come back, you need to reinvest all the energy and the silence and the activities into the client in order for him to go deeper. it would sound from my end like a play, you know. First time the client is playing something, and you need to let him or her play, you know, one time, two times, until the game became very seriously, and she started not to be aware about anything else because she was very much inward oriented. This is from my end what I observed.
Yes,
I don't know if
my focus is to get her more in relationship with herself rather than being in relationship with me.
yeah.
So when a client is asking, and this was just an illustration of one way you could use silence, meaning they're asking me, hey, Troy, what can I do? Can you tell me what to do? And I say, okay. And then I leave it in silence. I leave them hanging. That's what the silence is for. That's the provocation. I leave them hanging. And I want to see how they respond when they're left hanging. They're either going to disengage with me and start depending on themselves to search, or they're going to hang on my every word and breath and then start getting uncomfortable, maybe angry, maybe annoyed, maybe fearful, and I'll catch that response from them. And I'll say, what's that like? To put all the power on me, and I'm not giving it to you. Do you understand?
Yeah.
That's a great example for them to experience a feeling of non-resilience when they hang on me. It's also a great example to say, hey, you just took your power back. You weren't dependent on me. I left you hanging there and you worked it out for yourself. How empowering is that for you? That is a small fractal that we could open up and make very much bigger. You guys see the implications of that. I can create that micro moment of a quick dynamic between us. Any comments there on that?
I'm just wondering if the time of response of the client it makes a difference, because I have a lot of clients that are very quick responders, and I immediately sense that they are not into the profound level of trust and relationship. So when I pose a question and they are just plunging into the silence, now I know that they are really engaged, because if they quickly respond, not like the coach is quickly poking or provoking, but maybe you can comment a little bit.
Yes, I will. Let me come back to that in a couple minutes. I'll move ahead on these slides and I'll return. I've noted it. Timing of response. Okay. I'm just going to mute you, Paul, because I'm hearing some background noise. I think it's coming from you. And then you can unmute at any time. So the other way is through embodiment. I can embody something. So as a provocation. So if I was working with the client, let's say face to face, but even it doesn't have to be. And the client says, you know, I don't want to be attacked. And I go, whoa! What does that do to you? Right? They're going to have a reaction. Okay, so I'm embodying what they're telling me could provoke them, for example. Okay, rather than us intellectually talking about it. Okay, so what would be a situation where you feel attacked? No, I'll do it. I'll create it with them right there. Okay, or could be the same thing as being loved. So, you know, client, you know, to take your arms and embrace yourself. And what does that feel like? What does it feel like to be held? Imagine it's somebody else doing it to you. You don't have to think it's you. But, you know, so they have something tangible as opposed to intellectual. So physical embodiment is a great way to provoke, okay? Create the situation. Don't talk about the situation.
Okay? I have a question regarding the embodiment. Do you think that when, for example, you say embrace yourself to the client, you think it's important also for the coach to generate the mirror effect? Or it's only, so,
and keep catching every response that they have as they do it.
Yeah.
You know, another example could be, you know, like from your process course when we were exploring that question, what is something you cannot be with? So some people might say, I can't be with being trapped. I need to be in control. I can't be trapped or bound. So, okay, so now, you know, put your hands behind your back. You're in a straitjacket. Like, what's your immediate response to that when you can't move your arms or your body? Okay, you're totally like trapped and paralyzed. You're going to get a stronger response than if you talk about it. Okay.
I feel strange.
Yeah. 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 So you're going to get more immediate truth rather than intellectual truth.
Yeah.
The last
I feel
one.
Trapped. I feel small.
Yeah, small. Okay, and then I can say, okay, so let's you know, keep you in this small little place. Take your body and like, how does your body react when it's small? And take it on, right? You're going to get more information that way rather than us intellectualizing it.
Okay. Yeah.
Another way to provoke is to call their bluff. This has to do with when they've got saboteurs talking or negative beliefs or they're in a polarity or there's many ways to call it. Negative, limiting beliefs, negative beliefs, polarities, saboteurs, pathetic selves, whatever. For example, the client might say, you know, I have this business idea that I've been, you know, toying with, and I'd really love to get it started, but I'm afraid to because I don't know if it's a great idea and it might fail. So I'll say, well, it's a horrible idea. What? No, it's not that horrible. It's actually pretty good. Come on. How can you say it's horrible? So what I did was I called the bluff, meaning a lot of times your client is bluffing themselves. It's like they're a poker player and they're like, yeah, I'll raise you, I'll bet. And I say, okay, I match your bet, now show me your cards. If you're really a failure, show me that you're a failure, right? Make it 100%. Because a lot of times they're 50-50, like, oh, the idea might work, it might not work. Well, no, the idea will not work. It's going to be a total failure. You take them to the one extreme or the other, and that neutralizes the negative talk, so to speak. So you just call the bluff and see what their response is. They could also say, really? It's horrible? Oh my God. Then I would come back with and say, wow, it didn't even take you 1 second to swallow that. What's that like for you? To believe what I say about your idea. So that's how I could counteract it if it goes the other way. Again, I'm always shooting the ball back into their court through being more interested in the response than what I provoke. Okay? How you guys doing with that? Making sense? Okay. We're going to go a few minutes past the hour because we didn't start quite on time, all right? But if anyone needs to leave at the top of the hour, you're welcome to do that. So what are we provoking? We're provoking more so actions and behaviors. We're not provoking words. We want actions and behaviors. Action, reaction, okay? So keep your eyes on all the little shifts and changes in the person. Also, shifts in their energy, okay? And you want to capture that. We're provoking their awareness, what's going on in their head, okay? So thoughts, feelings, actions, behaviors. And then also what's going on in the dynamic. So when the client is saying to me, oh, you know, Troy, you know, tell me what I could do. I really, you know, I really value your opinion. I say, well, you're actually depending on my opinion. What's it like to hear that? Sounds like I could tell you exactly what to do and it could be total bullshit, but you do it anyway. So that's more an example of the dynamic, you know, the who's giving who power in the relationship, okay? We talk a lot about relationship dynamics and how to identify them in Module 1. So what's most important is we're not provoking story or information. to get them to tell the truth. Okay, it's like, hey, client, I think you're hiding something. You know, what else is going on there? Step up. You're playing small. Like, that's provoking, but I'm trying to get information, not reactions. Do you see the difference? If I said, hey, client, that sounds like a lie. That doesn't sound true. I would come back with, what's it like for you to hear that? What does it feel like to be called a liar? What thoughts go in your mind when I say that's not true? That's different than trying to pull out more information or facts. Do you guys understand the difference? Okay, so I'm not using provocation to get them to tell me the truth. They'll show me the truth through their reactions, okay? The body and the body language and the energy speaks much louder than the words they say. That's what provocation is all about for EED. You get them to act and react, and they show you the truth, okay? Because otherwise, we're just on this little top level. It's a superficial level of just tell the story, tell the narrative. That's just one point of view, a singular truth. We want to get them more into this game level where they're in a dynamic with themselves or a dynamic with their topic. This is like competing truths that if we drop them further, those truths can be more fluid, and we drop them into source, their own source, like what I was doing with Christina. I was leading her into her own source. She gains more autonomy. Then she can go back into her dream and her game, and that shifts her story. So if we're only trying to provoke more truth from the story, we're really not getting anywhere. We're provoking to open the game, we're provoking to open the dream, and we're provoking to lead them into a connection with their source. Okay. In other webinars I reviewed what this graphic really means. That's why I'm going very fast here. Okay. So I've been showing you how to work with the response. I said meet the response with acceptance and fascination, meaning if their response surprises you, fine, be surprised and be fascinated. A lot of times I've seen coaches and leaders get the response, but they say, but that's not what I meant. That's not what I was asking for. And they refuse the response of the client. That actually breaks safety in the relationship. Okay, so I could say, you know, earlier, like say with what I was doing with Paul, like I said, you know, so Paul, so how do you feel? Happy, sad, angry, or whatever. And he goes, well, I'm actually startled, or I'm astonished. And I say, well, that's not what I expected. I wanted you to be angry because I saw you get angry. Why are you lying to me, right? So, okay, you're astonished. Great, new door. Let's open it. Let's capture that experience of being astonished. What are you aware of while you're astonished? I want to capture his awareness. And really what I want to do is capture the energy. This is what I was doing with Christina. Whatever her response is, I want her to pay attention to the energy she's using in that response, because that's going to lead us to a strength. Even if her response is resistance, like, stop playing games with me, this is unfair, I'll say, what's the energy you use when you say this is unfair? Stop playing games. That energy will lead to resilience once I build a connection to that energy and link it to her well-being. This is the way to build resilience. So we provoke to capture the energy in the response, connect them to it, link that to their well-being, and then we can open whatever wisdom is available in that experience or connection and embody whatever they learn or discover there. This is the basic formula of how we're doing an EED interaction every moment. We provoke, catch the response, build a connection to that response with the energy, link it to their well-being, open the wisdom and discovery, and then embody that. I know that's racing very fast through. How are you doing with that? Okay. So that's what it looks like. This is our part of the model. these are what we call the inner loops. This is a constant happening. This is the action response, where you're going to provoke and invite the response immediately. And that's going to bring another provocation. So every response that the client gives is actually another provocation to themselves. So they end up in this loop. It's not you necessarily doing this loop, but you're both doing it. It's like a cause and effect, a ping pong, and that creates rhythm and flow of action and response. And this is what reveals more behavior and energy. It's what gets that moving. Okay, it's not about getting them talking, it's about getting them acting and reacting. And that's how we can dig into that game and dream and source. You can then focus the responses through balancing what's happening in their awareness, what's happening in their experience. Every time you invite a response, you can also look at, okay, what is happening in their awareness or experience, and you can provoke it so they can bring attention to it. That's what we call the focus loop. What this does is it creates alignment and congruence in the client's thoughts, feelings, actions, behaviors, words. Okay, everything lines up. Because most people sometimes will say, oh, no, that's okay. Don't worry about it. But inside they're feeling angry and they're thinking you're an asshole. Right? It's not lined up. Okay. Great. So I was demoing along the way. I want to know, what are your thoughts, comments here of provoking, getting response, what you're taking away, what you learned today, what was useful? Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Just a quick question. How do you cope with clients that seems to know this formula, and it's like they are judging you? You know, you're not doing the right thing. This is not what I am expecting from you as a coach. So they are playing like, you know, like my questions are not meant to be there, or like I'm doing something wrong, you know.
Well, you are doing something wrong, and that's a big question.
I know.
Okay, I know. All right.
What I'm asking, it might be related with my ability to stay focused and present into the coaching relationship, because I feel like I'm losing sometimes, you know.
Yes.
I'm into the formula, and I know that you want to say something right now, but you know, it doesn't link with.
Okay. Let me get a word in to answer your question.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. A couple things, and I will also address your question of timing of the response, because I wanted to do that. So they're playing a game with you. They're taking on like a high status. This has to do with the dynamic they have with you. They're judging your level of competence. They're saying, well, I know how this works, and you're kind of not doing it right, or you're doing it badly. Call the bluff. Call it exactly what it is. Okay, client, so obviously you know better. What do we do next? Right? It can be simple like that. So, you know better, or, you know, you're fighting me here. What's going on? Seems like you're judging me that I don't know what I'm doing. Is that true? And anything like that, right? That might seem confrontational, but they're already confronting you. Do you understand? So you match the energy.
Yeah, but you know, on a technical level, I know what I have to do, because I'm fully present with myself instead of being present in the relationship. But it's like he got me, you know.
Say that. Hey, oh, you got me. What's it like to have won?
From that moment, I lose the focus on the relationship, and I managed to get back on the track when I lose all the formulas and all the
yeah, true. By the way, Avi, you know, this eventually becomes second nature, so that everything you're doing is always action and response, and it feels fluent. Like, I don't even think about this. I'm thinking about it today because I'm demoing, but it becomes force of habit: action, response, articulation, question, articulation, question. So what you're really then doing is you're looking at what's now emerging. That's why we're focusing on the response, to see now what's bubbling up, what's the next impulse. And if you're lost, you tell yourself, okay, I'm lost. Now what's going on in this first moment? And that's how you, otherwise you're going to try and control the moment. This is a whole other thing, but it's as soon as you can acknowledge you're trying to control the moment, that's when you have the choice to let it go and start from zero again. Okay, in EED, we always have these safe buttons, like whenever you get lost or confused, go back to square one. And that first thing is, look over there, what's going on with your client, and name the first thing you see. Okay.
So this would be a 911 for myself.
Yep. Yeah. It's
okay.
like, because they may be baiting you into fighting, or there might be a power struggle. And so just let them have the control. If you feel lost, you don't know what to do. Tell yourself that. And then you could say, all right, client, I give it to you. What's next here? Right?
So I have to keep his mind or her mind busy.
You can. There's in module 2, we go into way more detail about, how can you neutralize these kinds of things. As far as timing goes, you're looking for what's the congruence, or the congruence in their response. If they're very congruent, thoughts, feelings, actions are all lining up and they're taking their time, you can let them soak in it, but still you can say, hey, just let me know what's happening now, right? If they're taking too long to respond. If you hit them with something and then they're processing, you can really, and you see those wheels turning, you've got to get them to respond now. Because otherwise they're having 10 different responses and they start distorting. You really want them to be in immediate response, first impulse, before they can start logically thinking. Because partly why we provoke is to get them away from brain logic and into body intuition, body intelligence. So you may demand a fast response from them. And you can literally say that. Ask your question and then say first response.
But isn't this a little bit, I don't know, unorthodox regarding ICF ethical guideline? Because it would be something like, I don't know, it just doesn't suit me to...
The way it works with the ICF is that you're constantly focusing on their response. You're not focusing on what you're doing provoking. This is meant to get a response, and then you capture the response and you create awareness. Okay, that's one of the competencies, is to create awareness. The provocation has more to do with your coaching presence. Okay, and then you're switching over to catch the response, create the awareness. That needs to be balanced. Okay, and it's non-interference because you're always inviting the client to play ball back. You're not playing ball for them. Okay? When it becomes the coach's agenda, it's as if you hit the ball over to their court by saying, hey guy, what do you think of that? Before they can answer, you've pushed them out of the way to hit the ball over the net again and say, here's what I think you think. And you start playing ball with yourself over the net. That's when you're interfering. But if you just throw the ball and say, hey, catch, they may catch it, they may not, and say, what's that like, to go after the ball? You're putting the ball in their court. That's why we invite response. It's always, no matter what happens, you put the ball in their court and you let them play with it. That's how you respect ICF regulations and ethics. I was going to speak a little bit more on resilience. But basically, we're just getting them into their own sense of well-being, where they can get in touch with a quality that feels unconditional, self-perpetuating, self-generating. I've gone through this in other webinars, but I always add this in. I worked further with Christina. I could, say we were almost there anyways with that playfulness, what feels permanent in you there. And that would take her into a more unconditional state of what is really enabling her to feel playful, which enables her to make her own decisions, make her own choices, and trust herself. So, and then we could circulate that all through. So that there's a give and receive within herself. It's because we're at time. So our next module is coming up in Munich, April 5th. That's 2 weeks away. There's still time to register. I'm going to email you a link where you can get a special discount. Otherwise, we have courses resuming in the fall, in September and October. Also, if you're interested in working using provocation to reconcile conflict and really work on conflict in relationship, we have a course in May in Frankfurt, May 17th. All it requires is that you take module 1. So you'd have to take the module 1 in Munich, and then you can come over to Frankfurt and take the conflict course in May. And this is very, very, very good. And you'll really learn about the art of provocation by taking those 2 courses together. And we do have a special package where you can take both together for a good deal. I'll be emailing you guys all that information. Otherwise, you can go to our Eventbrite site, and there's information on there already. Or check out the the essence-dynamics.com website. Our next webinar is on April 3rd, Mapping the Creative Cycle. It's going to show you, okay, now that you got the response, how do you shape it? How do you build the impulses? How do you move people through the different stages of the creative cycle? Okay, and that affects our transformational processes. How can you map your own process onto the creative cycle so you can maximize your transformations? Okay. So there you have it. And this is our contact info. Visit our website, follow us on social media, or shoot me an email. Okay. info@essence-dynamics.com or troy@essence-dynamics.com. What are your final thoughts here? What are you left with? What are your inspirations? Final comments?
Well, there's not so much on my side. Thank you very much for this webinar. Very refreshing. I can't wait to go to Munich actually next weekend for the practicum.
Did you sign up just now?
Not yet, but I saw that I can sign up until 23rd, but I already have a place to stay.
Awesome. Okay.
Tonight, and that's very perfect. I'm waiting for that. So thank you for the refreshing webinar, and also trying to get my company to give me some time for the advanced application course.
The reconciling conflicts. Awesome.
Yes.
Good.
So, and I guess I will practice some of the provocation stuff.
Yeah, do practice it. Be sure you're getting the response. That's sometimes people forget. That's so important. Get the response. Get the response. Yeah. Cool. Anyone else?
I really enjoy being you with the webinars, and I want to look in one day to all your webinars to have a clearer image of what's happening here. And I was looking to my calendar to see where can I put one module or one training with you, but I'm not finding yet a place to schedule, but I will still watching to see when I can have this training, because for me I have pieces that are well related with everything I do and learn, and I want to understand the whole process, or full philosophy about behind, and I'm like triggered with every meeting I have with you.
Great. Well, I hope triggered in a good way. And
yes, it's a certain a good way.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, and do keep in touch with us, Christina. We really want to see you come to a course, because yeah, you'll get the full picture in the courses. I'm trying to show you a lot in the webinars, but it's still, very rich and even more, and you get practice with this. Yeah. Good. Anyone else? What are your final thoughts? What do you leave with?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you very much. It was very refreshing for me too, and thank you for saying that about the response. I think this is the most important thing. Then it makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's not so. Everybody can do that.
Yeah, when you're focused on the response, you're less self-conscious with provocation, because you know your intention is grab the first response that comes. Yeah, makes it safer for both people. Okay. Did you have anything to add there, Cesar?
No, I just remember what you taught us in Bucharest 2010, I think, about the steps that we need to take before reacting when we see something, like observation, enjoyment, engagement, and then fascination and so on. So I remember that these techniques, basic techniques, also help us to design communication trainings, and because they are is not only related to the coaching sessions. That's right. They are basic human skills, exactly. When you need to master the relationship with your wife when she's reacting, and you need to you need to grasp that sparkling. That's right. I very much need to be there in flesh and bone, because it doesn't compare. I also made some soundtrack, some audiobooks from your webinars. I'm listening and re-listening in the car, in the plane. Wow. And every time I listen them, I understand totally different things. Awesome. I enlarge my presence and awareness around the things you are teaching here. I think there are purely courses, there's not webinar. They are very well structured and very methodical and very easy to be learned from a student perspective. So congratulations. It's very high quality. We think like we are stealing something, It's like cheating. It's like having high quality material, but I feel very special because only a few are tasting from this. So I'm not promoting to anybody your material.
Well, we would love more people to taste it, and we want more people to come and join the whole community and curriculum, because I really do believe this does change the way we interact in relationship. It changes our mode of consciousness. It cultivates more humility in our relationships, but also brings more aliveness and creativity in our relationships.
Yeah.
So, and everything is based upon acceptance first. Acceptance and then fascination, and that builds resilience in us.
Yeah.
So it really leads us to a place where we can thrive in relationship.
Yeah. Resilient rather than transformative.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, and thank you for that feedback, Cesar. I'm really honored to hear, how you're absorbing the work at a distance and creating audiobooks, and it's great to hear. So, and we always love it. Keep coming back for more webinars, and then come into the room, and you'll get the discipline practice. So I hope to see you.
I will.
So I'm going to stop the recording, and if anyone wishes to hang out, chat a little bit more, you can. And so for those listening to the recording also, thank you, and I hope you enjoyed yourselves, and we'll see you again April 3rd.